Tonight is not asking you to change your life, fix your habits, or correct your thinking. It is asking something far simpler and far more powerful: to stop. To stop reaching, stop managing outcomes, stop mentally rehearsing tomorrow. There is a law that moves most efficiently when you are no longer trying to help it. Most people have been taught that effort is the gateway to reward. Push harder, think more, plan better. Yet the moments that changed everything likely arrived when you weren't forcing them, when you were calm, open, or even asleep. That is not an accident. It is the natural rhythm of how order restores itself. The mind grows loud during the day. It argues, doubts, remembers, predicts. But as night approaches, another intelligence steps closer, one that does not debate or delay. It simply arranges. Sleep is not the absence of power. It is where power regains direction. For the next 7 nights, you are not meant to analyze what is happening here. Analysis tightens the grip. What works now is permission. Permission for the unseen to act without supervision. Permission for supply to approach without being questioned at the door. You may feel the urge to do this right, to listen carefully, to understand each phrase. That instinct comes from effort, and effort is not required here. What reaches the deeper mind does not need explanation. It needs openness. And openness is already forming as you rest. There is a reason worry softens when the body relaxes. There is a reason clarity arrives after sleep. When the conscious will loosens control, alignment restores itself. You were never meant to carry everything consciously. Some things are designed to resolve themselves beyond awareness. Abundance does not respond to strain. It responds to agreement. Agreement feels like relief, like setting something down without fear that it will be lost. Tonight is not about wanting more. It is about allowing what already belongs to you to move again. For 7 nights, let this time remain private. Do not discuss it. Do not measure it. Silence preserves momentum. Seeds that are constantly uncovered never root. What is impressed quietly grows steadily, without interruption. You may notice subtle changes before visible ones. A lighter feeling. A sense of calm without reason. A gentle expectation replacing pressure. These are not signs to evaluate. They are signals that resistance is dissolving and that movement has begun. The mind often believes it must see the path before it can trust the destination. But the greater order works in reverse. The destination arranges the path. Your role is not to predict how things will happen, only to stop blocking the sequence. As you lie here, the body relaxes into stillness. The breath slows. The noise of the day fades. This is not emptiness. It is readiness. In this state, impressions are received without argument. And what is impressed now does not fade with waking. Many people unknowingly cancel their good by watching it too closely. They look for proof. They ask how long. They wonder if it's working. Tonight, you are released from all of that. Sleep itself is the confirmation. There is nothing mystical you must believe. There is nothing to imagine perfectly. The law responds to acceptance, not performance. A quiet "this is handled" carries more authority than 1,000 repeated affirmations spoken in tension. As these words continue, let them pass through you rather than be held. You do not need to remember them. What matters will remain. What is unnecessary will drift away. The deeper mind keeps only what serves alignment. You may think you know what abundance should look like. That expectation is understandable, but limited. Supply often arrives sideways, through ease instead of effort, through timing instead of force, through help you didn't know to request. Tonight begins a pattern. not of doing, but of allowing. For 7 nights, you step out of the way at the precise moment order does its finest work. Nothing is being delayed. Nothing is being withheld. What was tangled is being untangled. If tomorrow brings a shift, do not rush to label it. If nothing seems different, do not doubt. Rearrangement happens quietly first. Visible change is only the final echo of a decision already made beneath awareness. You are not persuading life to favor you. You are returning to agreement with what was always designed to support you. That agreement feels like peace. It feels like rest. And rest is the signal that the door is open. Now, let listening soften into drifting. Let words fade into rhythm. There is nothing further to decide tonight. The work continues without effort. Sleep completes what thought could not. For 7 nights, this is enough. As you lie still and the weight of the day loosens its hold upon your mind, you enter a holy threshold, a quiet passage where effort falls away and divine intelligence steps forward without asking your permission. I have always said that man does not reach his good by force, nor by anxious striving, nor by arranging the world with his own hands. He reaches it by releasing the strain that has kept the channels closed and allowing the unseen to work through him, for him, and often in spite of him. Most people believe their lives are built by their waking thoughts. Yet I have found again and again that a man's nights shape his days far more than his hours of activity. When the conscious mind stops its ceaseless rehearsing and critiquing, the deeper mind, the creative mind, the obedient mind steps to the forefront, ready to take instruction. And in this quiet hour, you need not do, you need only allow. For years, I watched seekers attempt to improve their conditions with effort alone. They pushed and worried and calculated. They clung to their affairs with such tension that they squeezed the very life from them. But when they finally grew, too weary to continue and laid the matter down, even in exhaustion, that was when the miracle began. A woman once came to me frantic with fear, believing her situation beyond hope. She said, "I have tried everything." I answered, "You have tried everything but ceasing." I instructed her simply to sit in her room each night and say, "I now step aside and allow divine order to act." She confessed later that she did not understand what she was saying, yet her sincerity opened the way. Within days, circumstances began moving of their own accord. A man who had opposed her changed his mind. A letter arrived that corrected an old misunderstanding. She told me, "I did nothing," and I replied, "That is why everything could happen." There is a law of reversal in spiritual things. What the world calls weakness is often strength, and what the world calls effort is often obstruction. Your conscious mind has spent the day evaluating, judging, planning, regretting, attempting to hold together a universe that does not need your hands to remain upright. When night falls, this small commander grows drowsy, and the true ruler of your affairs, the subconscious, steps into its infinite domain. The subconscious does not argue, does not reason, does not consult past failures or future fears. It acts upon what is impressed upon it. And the impressions you give it in these final waking moments carry more power than many hours of daytime repetition. A man once told me that he spent his nights trying to solve problems that eluded him during the day. He paced, he strategized, he replayed conversations in the hope of discovering a clue he had missed. Yet nothing ever changed. I said to him, "You are like one who pounds upon a locked door when the key lies silently upon the table." I instructed him to cease his mental toil and instead speak softly as he lay down. Infinite intelligence takes this matter and perfects it. He did so reluctantly, for he believed problems were solved by labor, not surrender. But he obeyed. That very night, he slept for the first time in many weeks. The next day brought an unexpected message resolving the issue without his intervention. He said to me, "It came as though by magic," and I answered, "Not magic, but law." When the conscious mind loosens its grip, the deeper mind begins to receive the impressions that shape tomorrow's events. You are not meant to enter sleep carrying the weight of the world upon your shoulders. You are meant to lay the burden down at the doorway of rest and pass into a chamber where unseen helpers take up the work that your waking hands cannot accomplish. I have watched seekers transform their lives not through heroic action, but through the quiet acceptance that they need not struggle. They simply allowed. There is a profound spiritual truth in the command, "Peace, be still." It was not spoken only to the winds and waves of a troubled sea, it was spoken to the storms of man's inner life. And when man accepts this command within himself, when he says inwardly, "Be still," the Christ within rises, takes dominion, and brings all things into order. I have seen this again and again. A woman plagued by fear of loss, clutching at every coin, every opportunity, every relationship, softened her grip at night by saying, "I now release everything into divine hands." Within weeks, her affairs stabilized, her income increased. Those who once overlooked her began offering support. She told me, "I feel held," and I said, "You always were." Let me give you another picture, for images speak where logic cannot. Imagine that your day is like a room filled with scattered papers, open drawers, overturned chairs. You move from one corner to another trying to tidy it, yet the more you fuss, the more disorder seems to arise. But imagine now that you step outside for a moment, and while you are gone, a master arranger enters the room. He gathers the papers, closes the drawers, sets the furniture aright, dusts the shelves, and opens the windows. When you return, the room is transformed, not through your labor, but through the labor you allowed. This is what happens at night when you cease your mental clamor. The world often praises the busy man, the one who never rests, the one who burns his candle at both ends. But the spiritual law rewards the man who knows when to stop. There is a time to act and a time to be still, and the seeker who refuses to honor the stillness cuts himself off from his greatest ally. The subconscious works most efficiently without the interference of the conscious mind. It takes the pure decree, the quiet affirmation, the soft acceptance, and shapes conditions accordingly. I once counseled a young woman who said, "Mrs. Shinn, I have prayed and prayed, yet nothing changes." I asked her, "When do you pray?" She said, "In the morning when I rush to prepare for the day, and in the afternoon when I am worried." I asked, "And at night?" She looked puzzled. I said, "The night is the doorway to the subconscious. If you pray in haste and worry, your words are drowned by the noise of the conscious mind. But at night, when you are quiet, your word enters the deep realm where miracles are shaped." I instructed her to speak only one line before sleep. "Divine love now takes charge of my life." Within a month, her entire demeanor changed. She walked softly, spoke gently, moved confidently. Her friends remarked upon her transformation. And soon, the very thing she sought arrived, not because she strained toward it, but because she ceased forcing the matter and trusted the night to carry the decree. Do not underestimate the spiritual authority you hold in these gentle moments before sleep. When you say, "I release," heaven leans close. When you say, "It is handled," the invisible hosts begin their work. When you whisper, "I now step aside," divine order steps forward. There is a rhythm in the universe. Inhale and exhale, tide and retreat, creation and rest. Man often honors only the first half of this rhythm. He inhales but never exhales, works but never releases, asks but never allows. But the law requires harmony. If you act, you must also withdraw. If you decree, you must also trust. If you plant, you must allow the soil to do its work. Many people uproot their good by constant inspection. They look for progress, doubt its pace, worry themselves into delay. But when you fall asleep with a sense of surrender, you leave the seed undisturbed, allowing it to grow. Let me tell you a small story of a woman who longed for financial relief. She begged, pleaded, and fretted over her bills each night. I told her, "You are placing your burdens upon your pillow. Cast them aside." I taught her to say, "I sleep in divine abundance. All that I need is now provided." She repeated the words softly, not trying to believe them, but allowing them to be spoken. Within 2 weeks, she received unexpected assistance. Within a month, she was free of several debts. She said, "It happened so gently," and I replied, "Prosperity often enters softly, for it dislikes the noise of fear." When you allow the night to become a sanctuary rather than a battlefield, your entire life shifts. You awaken lighter. Ideas come without strain. Opportunities present themselves without pursuit. People respond to your calm as though you carry a new fragrance. This is because you have entered the ancient law of allowing, the spiritual art of stepping back so the divine may step forward. When sleep begins to approach, let your final thoughts be of release, not analysis. Say inwardly, "This matter is handled," even if you see no sign. Say, "I rest in truth," even if the outer world appears disorderly. Say, "All things are being adjusted for my good," and the adjustment begins. You need not feel strong, nor certain, nor wise. You need only stop resisting. The universe rushes to fill the space created by your surrender. And now that you have begun to grasp the sacred power of stopping, of gently stepping aside so the deeper law may act, we shall move into the next chamber of wisdom. How the subconscious receives, without question, whatever you whisper to it in the final moments before sleep. As the body settles and the breath begins to lengthen, the conscious mind, so proud of its vigilance during the day, grows quiet, and a remarkable shift occurs within you. The inner watchman, who stands guard over the gates of your subconscious, grows drowsy and steps aside. This watchman, busy all day with sorting, judging, doubting, arguing, and remembering, finally loosens his grip. And in that sacred dimming of reason, another mind comes forward. The deeper mind, the obedient mind, the creative mind that never sleeps and never tires. This is the mind that takes every impression as law. This is the mind that arranges your affairs according to the picture you give it. This is the mind heaven entrusted with the power to build your world from within. During the day, this subconscious worker operates under the constant scrutiny of the conscious mind. If you attempt to impress it with truth during the day, the watchman may say, "How can this be?" or, "But yesterday proved otherwise." The conscious mind interrupts, questions, contradicts. But at night, when the watchman nods off and the gate swings open, the subconscious receives every word, every image, every tone without resistance. It does not ask, "Is this realistic?" It does not look to the past for verification. It accepts the last impression you give it as the blueprint for tomorrow. This is why I say that your night thoughts are the architects of your days. What you allow into the subconscious before sleep is far more important than what you do during your waking hours. A man may speak truth 100 times during the day, only to cancel it with one sentence of fear at night. Another may speak only a single line of truth before sleep, and that line, uncontested, will build the next steps of his destiny. I once counseled a woman who spent her nights rehearsing everything she feared: unpaid bills, imagined disasters, misunderstandings with loved ones. She wondered why her mornings were heavy and her affairs stagnant. I said to her, "My dear, you have been slipping fearful seeds into the soil each night, and each morning you awaken to their growth." She looked startled, for she had not considered that the quiet murmurs she spoke into her pillow had any power over her life. I told her to replace her nightly whisper of fear with a simple truth: "My affairs are in divine order, and I rest in perfect peace." She obeyed. At first, the words felt foreign, but the subconscious accepted them without judgment. Within 2 weeks, she told me she felt lighter upon waking. Within a month, several troubling financial matters had resolved themselves quietly. She said, "It feels as though something is helping me." And I replied, "Indeed, your own deeper mind is now working for you instead of against you." A gentleman once came to me complaining that no matter how hard he worked, he always seemed to fall back into confusion. He said, "Mrs. Shinn, I try to think positively, yet nothing holds." I asked him, "What do you think in the 10 minutes before sleep?" He hesitated, then admitted, "I think of everything that worries me, for that is when I finally have time to consider it." I said, "That is when you must consider nothing but truth." I taught him to speak this decree before bed: "Infinite intelligence now directs my life." He said it nightly, though at first he felt no difference. But the subconscious does not require emotion to act. It requires only repetition. Soon, ideas for new ventures began coming to him at dawn. Solutions arrived before the problems matured. People who had overlooked him began seeking his counsel. He said, "It is as though I stepped into another life," and I answered, "No, you stepped into another consciousness." The subconscious is a perfectly loyal servant. It does not analyze. It does not resist. It does not debate. It fulfills. What you give it as truth, it builds. It listens most attentively when the conscious mind has surrendered, for there is no interference to obstruct the command. Imagine for a moment that your subconscious is like a great furnace, glowing with creative fire. During the day, it burns irregularly because so many conflicting instructions are thrown into it: fear, hope, regret, ambition, doubt, desire, all competing for dominance. But at night, when the conscious mind releases control, you may place into the furnace one single pure idea, and that idea, free of contradiction, ignites the whole inner world. It becomes the pattern by which new conditions are shaped. A man once came to me weary from repeating affirmations during the day. He said, "I speak them, but they do not feel true." I told him, "Speak them at night when the feeling is unnecessary." The subconscious does not need your emotion. It needs your instruction. He began saying each night, "I am divinely guided. Right actions come to me clearly." In a short time, he made decisions with ease that had formerly caused him great distress. Those around him remarked that he had become more sure-footed, more decisive. They sensed the new order within him long before he recognized it. Let us consider how others begin to perceive a person whose subconscious has been fed truth instead of fear. Their face grows serene, even when outer conditions remain unchanged. Their tone becomes calm, for they no longer speak from panic. Their posture shifts, straightening as though they are held upright by an unseen hand. People find themselves trusting them, seeking their presence, sensing stability. This is the outward reflection of inner order. I have often compared the subconscious to the soil of a garden. Whatever seed you plant in it will grow, so long as you do not dig it up by contradiction. During the day, many gardeners plant seeds of truth, only to uproot them by afternoon with fearful words. But at night, when the subconscious is alone with the seed, it cradles it, nourishes it, expands it. This is why I urge seekers not to speak of their inner work to others. A careless remark from a fearful person can pluck the seed before it roots. Silence preserves the momentum. A young woman once dreamed of becoming an artist, but saw only obstacles during the day. Yet each night she imagined herself painting, affirmed quietly that divine design governed her gifts, and told the subconscious, "Prepare the way." In time, opportunities appeared, gentle, unforced, perfectly timed. Her family, once doubtful, began praising her talent. Her friends marveled at her new confidence. She said, "I do not know how it happened." And I answered, "You told your subconscious what to believe, and it told your world what to provide." Let me give you a biblical picture, for Scripture reveals this law beautifully. When young Samuel lay asleep in the temple, he heard the divine voice not during the noise of daily tasks, but in the stillness of night. Jacob saw the ladder to heaven at night, not during his journey. Joseph received guidance in dreams. The night has always been the hour when the divine speaks most clearly, for man's resistance is lowest and his receptivity greatest. Consider, too, the parable of the growing seed. The farmer sleeps and rises night and day, and the seed grows. He knows not how. The subconscious performs its work without man's understanding. He is not required to supervise. He is required only to plant wisely. Here are the decrees that impress the subconscious with prosperity. My subconscious now receives only truth. Divine order governs my mind and affairs. What I accept at night appears by day. The watchman sleeps. Truth enters unhindered. Say these softly before sleep. Do not strain. Do not analyze. The subconscious does not need explanation. It needs acceptance. And now, having understood how the deeper mind obeys every whisper you give it, we move toward a greater mystery still. How the Christ within, your perfect pattern, your silent helper, rearranges your affairs as you sleep. When man has quieted his surface mind and offered his subconscious only the purest impressions, another presence, older than fear, wiser than reason, swifter than effort, steps forward to take command. I have often called this presence the Christ within, not in a sectarian sense, but as the indwelling principle of divine intelligence, the perfect pattern, the unfailing guide, the eternal architect of man's right place, right supply, and right expression. This inner Christ is not distant. It is not persuaded by pleading, nor moved by panic. It is ever ready, ever poised, ever working in silence the moment man releases his grip upon the outer world. And in the hours of sleep, when the conscious mind ceases to interfere, the Christ within accomplishes adjustments that waking effort could never achieve. It is a mistake to believe that your affairs are arranged by your conscious will alone. Your conscious mind is but the foreman. The Christ within is the master builder. When you attempt to direct your life by force, by anxiety, by overthinking and planning, you step into the Christ's workshop, rearranging tools you do not understand and interrupting a process that was already underway for your good. But when you step aside, especially before sleep, and declare, "I now place this in divine hands," the inner Christ moves through your affairs with quiet precision, smoothing paths, dissolving obstacles, and opening doors that seemed shut by every outer appearance. A woman once came to me, distressed by a relationship that seemed beyond repair. Harsh words had been spoken, misunderstandings hardened, and pride built walls between her and a dear friend. She had tried explaining, apologizing, reasoning, yet nothing mended the breach. I told her, "You have attempted to adjust this matter with your outer mind. Now allow the Christ within to adjust it." I instructed her to say before sleep, "Divine love now harmonizes this situation. I release it entirely." She obeyed for several nights, though she felt foolish at first, believing nothing could soften the other person's heart. But the Christ within governs hearts, for it governs the thoughts and emotions that shape human conduct. One morning, she awoke to a letter, an apology, a tender confession, a desire for reconciliation. She said to me, "It happened without my lifting a finger." And I answered, "Because you finally removed your fingers from the matter." Another man struggled with a burdensome legal situation. He feared the worst at every turn and tried endlessly to foresee the outcome. He said, "Mrs. Shinn, I cannot rest. I feel I must do something." I replied, "Your constant doing has tangled the threads. Now let the Christ within untangle them." I gave him the affirmation, "Christ within, take full command of this situation. I trust your perfect adjustment." He spoke it nightly with sincerity, though with some lingering doubt. Yet doubt cannot obstruct the Christ's work when man stops interfering. Within a short time, the opposing party changed their stance entirely, offering terms beyond anything he hoped. He said, "It feels miraculous," and I replied, "Miracles are simply divine adjustments performed without your meddling." Let me tell you of the law at work here. The Christ within holds a perfect blueprint of your life, a pattern untouched by fear, uncorrupted by past mistakes, unaltered by human limitation. When you release your affairs to this divine pattern, the subconscious aligns itself with it, and the outer world rearranges accordingly. But the Christ cannot impose this pattern on a mind cluttered with effort, fear, or insistence. You must step aside. You must cease striving. You must trust the night to deliver what your day could not produce. The scriptures speak constantly of this invisible adjustment. When the Israelites reached the Red Sea, their conscious minds saw only danger. Moses, guided by the inner law, commanded them, "Stand still." And in stillness, the way opened. Peter slept in prison the night before his execution. Yet the angel of deliverance arrived in that sleep, chains broken, doors opened. Ruth, resting at the feet of Boaz, found herself placed under divine protection and provision. In every case, the miracle began when effort ceased and trust took its place. Let me share the case of a woman whose home was filled with discord. Every evening, she tried with strained sweetness to influence her family into harmony, but her efforts only increased the tension. When she came to me, I said, "You have attempted to adjust your household with your own hands. Now release it to the Christ within." I instructed her to say before sleep, "Divine love overshadows this home. Perfect peace reigns here now." She repeated this nightly, not pleading, but simply stating truth. Within days, the atmosphere shifted. Those who had argued began speaking kindly. Those who had withdrawn began participating. She told me, "It is as though my home was washed in peace." And it had been, for the Christ within had done in silence what she could not do through force. Others will begin to notice when the Christ within has taken command of your affairs, though they may not know what to call it. They may say, "You seem different," or "You carry yourself with a new calm," or "Things always seem to work out for you lately." They are responding not to chance, but to order, divine order quietly arranging your steps. You will walk with a sense of expectancy, not of strain. You will speak with authority, not fear. You will find that matters resolve themselves before you have time to worry over them. What once required effort now unfolds with ease. Let me offer an image to help you understand this process. Imagine that your affairs are like a tangled skein of thread. During the day, in your haste and worry, you tug at the knots until they tighten. But at night, when you lay the skein upon the table and walk away, a master weaver enters and gently loosens each knot, rewinds the thread, restores order. In the morning, you find the skein smooth, ready for weaving. You may say, "How did this happen?" But the answer is simple. You trusted the unseen hand of the Christ within. The subconscious is the instrument through which the Christ works. When you speak truth before sleep, when you declare, "This is in divine hands now," you open the doors of the subconscious and the Christ steps in. It acts upon people, places, and circumstances. It dissolves obstacles. It brings to light hidden opportunities. It causes people to remember you at the right moment. It changes minds and softens hearts. It opens doors you could not even see from where you stand. Here are the powerful decrees that summon the Christ into action. The Christ within now takes full command of my life. All that concerns me is now adjusted under grace. Divine love harmonizes every relationship. Every crooked place is made straight while I sleep. Say these statements not as pleas but as truths. The Christ within does not require urging, it requires acknowledgement. Let me share just one more illustration. A young man, uncertain of his future, lay awake each night wrestling with decisions he could not make. He tried to map out his life, but each plan filled him with dread. When he came to me, I told him, "You are trying to steer a ship whose captain is already at the helm. Release the wheel." I taught him to say before sleep, "Christ within, reveal my path in perfect ways." He obeyed, and within days, opportunities appeared that aligned perfectly with his gifts. He said, "I could not have chosen better myself." And I said, "Indeed, you did not choose. You allowed the choice to be made for you." And now that you have understood how effortlessly the Christ within works when you remove your anxious hands, we move into the next chamber of night wisdom, the crafting of prosperity pictures, the inner images that the subconscious turns into outer conditions. As the night deepens and the conscious mind withdraws entirely from its ceaseless motion, there rises within man a quiet space, a still chamber where pictures are formed, impressions are carved, and the blueprints of tomorrow are silently drafted. It is here, in this inner sanctuary, that the subconscious begins its holy work of reproduction. For the subconscious does not create original ideas, it reproduces what it is shown. It is the faithful engraver of whatever images the conscious mind places before it. And at night, when reason no longer interrupts and fear grows lethargic, the images you hold become the molds from which tomorrow's conditions are poured. I have often said that your world is your looking glass, reflecting the pictures you have formed within. Many complain of what they see in the mirror of life, never pausing to ask what images they have sent forth into the deep. If you send forth pictures of lack, you awaken to lack. If you picture yourself as a struggler, the world obligingly provides struggle. But if you picture yourself provided for, guided, expanded, welcomed into new and pleasant places, the subconscious sets about arranging these very scenes. For pictures are the language of the deeper mind. They are more potent than words, more enduring than emotions, more commanding than desires. A woman once came to me longing for a home of her own. yet she pictured herself forever wandering, forever renting, forever unsettled. I told her, "Your subconscious is building the very room you see. Change the picture." I instructed her to imagine each night as she drifted into sleep that she stood in her own doorway, turning her own key, stepping into her own peaceful rooms. She objected, saying she had no way to make such a picture come true. I answered, "You need not make it come true. You need only show it to the subconscious, which knows ways far beyond your reasoning." She obeyed. Within 2 months, a distant relative offered her a cottage at a price she could not have imagined possible. She told me, "It was as though the picture walked out of my mind into my life." And indeed, it had. Another woman desired harmony in her household, which had become a place of tension and sharp words. She tried endlessly to correct each member of her family, but her correction only created more resistance. When she came to me, burdened by exhaustion, I said, "You have described the discord repeatedly, thus reinforcing the picture. Now describe harmony." I told her to imagine her table set beautifully, her family seated around it with gentleness and laughter, the very air in the room filled with peace. She practiced this picture each night, not straining, not forcing, but holding the image lightly before sleep. Within a fortnight, the atmosphere began to change. A son who seldom spoke began participating. A husband who had grown distant softened. She said, "The home feels different," and I replied, "Because the picture changed." There was a young man who sought a position in a field where he felt unworthy. He pictured himself small, unnoticed, ignored. I told him, "The subconscious cannot bring you recognition while you imagine invisibility. Imagine instead that you walk into the right place, that your presence is welcomed, that your abilities are valued." He began seeing himself shaking hands with those who admired his work. He imagined standing tall, speaking clearly, being greeted with warmth. He repeated this image nightly until it felt natural. Soon, a position opened unexpectedly, and he found himself chosen above many more qualified applicants. He said, "They told me I seemed the right fit, though we had never met before." I answered, "Your subconscious introduced you before your body arrived." Let me teach you something vital. The subconscious does not distinguish between real and imagined pictures. If you imagine something vividly, with calm expectancy, the subconscious accepts it as fact and sets in motion the outer conditions needed to produce it. It does not question your worthiness. It does not consider your past. It reproduces what it is shown. This is why nighttime is a sacred opportunity. The images you present to the subconscious just before sleep remain undisturbed for hours, sinking into fertile soil. No daytime voices contradict them. No doubts intrude. No worries dilute their power. A picture held in these final moments is carried into the kingdom of silence where it takes shape. Imagine your subconscious as a silent architect reviewing designs. During the day, you bring it torn sketches, fearful drawings, chaotic plans, hurried scribbles. But at night, when the office is quiet, you may slide across the desk a single pure blueprint, the life you wish to experience. And the architect begins to build according to this plan. Here is a simple symbol that has brought prosperity to many. A purse that never empties. Not a modern purse, but a small, sturdy, elegant one of Florence's time. Leather that grows softer with use. A clasp that opens smoothly, and inside, coins that replenish themselves. A woman once told me she imagined this purse nightly, and soon her income stabilized. Another imagined a lamp always filled with oil and never dimming, and her inner vitality and finances both increased. the subconscious understands symbols of plenty. Let me share a biblical image. When Abraham was discouraged, the Lord said to him, "Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, so shall thy seed be." Abraham was not given a lecture but a picture, an image so vast, so luminous, that it imprinted upon his subconscious and shaped nations. When Ezekiel saw the valley of dry bones come to life, it was a picture of restoration. When Joshua was told the walls of Jericho had fallen, he saw the picture before he saw the manifestation. Pictures precede miracles. A woman came to me once who had long desired companionship. She felt alone and unwanted, and this picture of loneliness was reflected in her circumstances. I did not ask her to imagine any particular person. That would violate spiritual law. Instead, I told her to imagine her home as though it were prepared for companionship. A second chair pulled close to her own, a place set for another at her table. Flowers arranged in the center of the room, as though expecting a guest. She followed the instruction faithfully. One evening at dinner, she felt moved to set 2 places instead of 1. Soon afterward, she was introduced to someone who complimented her perfectly. She said, "I felt as though he had already been in the room," and indeed, the picture had preceded the manifestation. Others begin to perceive the shift when you craft prosperity pictures. They may not know what has changed, but they sense a refinement in you, an inward grace, a certain brightness of spirit. Your step becomes lighter. Your eyes seem to carry new assurance. You no longer appear as one hoping for a miracle, but as one expecting a miracle. And the world responds differently to one who expects good. Opportunities gravitate toward those whose inner pictures are aligned with abundance. Here are the prosperity pictures that the subconscious accepts most readily: a doorway opening, symbolizing opportunity; a table set, symbolizing provision; a lamp filled with oil, symbolizing sustained supply; a purse replenishing itself, symbolizing ongoing abundance; a peaceful home, symbolizing harmony; a path brightened ahead, symbolizing guidance. And here are the affirmations that anchor these images. The divine picture now appears. What I see inwardly, I soon walk into outwardly. My prosperity picture is perfect, permanent, and divinely protected. I imagine only the good, and the good comes swiftly under grace. Let me give you one final metaphor for this chapter of truth. Imagine that life is a stage, and the subconscious is the stage manager. During the day, actors wander about without direction because no script has been handed in. But at night, if you slip a clear script beneath the door, a picture of how you wish the scene to unfold, the stage manager gathers the actors, arranges the props, sets the lights, and prepares the scene. When the curtain rises in the morning, you step into the very picture you handed in. And now that your pictures have been chosen with care and impressed with calm authority, we move to another spiritual marvel. The spoken decrees that, when uttered before sleep, return multiplied in the morning. There is a law as old as creation and as precise as mathematics. Every word man speaks returns to him multiplied. This is the great boomerang law, the law by which thought becomes form and speech becomes circumstance. Words do not drift off into the air like harmless vapor. They are living forces that travel into the unseen substance of life, take shape, gather momentum, and return bearing fruit of the same nature as the seed. And I tell you, no words return more swiftly, more faithfully, or more potently than the words spoken just before sleep, when the conscious mind is quiet and the subconscious receives each decree as unquestioned command. During the day, your spoken word must compete with doubts, counterthoughts, contradicting emotions, and the chatter of the world. But at night, when your body grows still and the watchman at the gate has retired from his post, your word enters the subconscious like a king entering his royal hall. It is received with ceremony, obeyed without question, and acted upon with tireless devotion. Whatever you say in this sacred hour becomes the law for your subconscious world, and the subconscious world becomes the blueprint for your outer affairs. I once counseled a woman whose finances were perpetually in disarray. She worked hard, prayed earnestly, and tried to think positively, yet she often ended her days by whispering, "I hope I can manage another month." This soft, fearful sentence, spoken night after night, overpowered every affirmation she made during the day. She planted seeds of lack at the very moment her subconscious was most open to receive them, and naturally, the harvest came in the form of further lack. When I explained this to her, she looked stunned, for she had believed her nighttime murmurs were private thoughts, not decrees. I told her, "Your subconscious hears every whisper as law." I instructed her to replace her nightly sentence with, "I expect the unexpected. My supply arrives in perfect ways." She obeyed, though with trembling at first, for her circumstances seemed to contradict the decree. But the subconscious does not consult circumstances. It consults only the spoken word. Within a short time, unexpected forms of income appeared. A delayed check arrived. A small investment bore fruit. Even a neighbor she had forgotten she assisted years ago returned a generous sum. She said to me, "It is as though my good was waiting for my permission to move." And indeed, it was her word that opened the gate. There was a man who complained that nothing ever worked out for him. He spoke these words before bed with an air of resignation, as though stating a fact. I warned him that he was decreeing misfortune. He dismissed the idea, saying, "It is only speech." Yet speech is never only speech. It is the wand by which man commands his world. Weeks later, after a series of troubling events, he returned to me and said, "Everything I feared came upon me." I replied, not unkindly, "Everything you declared came upon you." When he finally accepted the law, he began speaking before sleep. "Everything works together for my good." In a short time, the tide turned. Opportunities that had eluded him presented themselves. He said, "It is as though I changed the wind." And indeed, he had changed his word, which governs the unseen winds of circumstance. Another woman once told me she struggled with poor health and fell asleep each night saying, "I am so tired. I do not know how much longer I can continue." I said, "My dear, you are writing that sentence upon the pages of your tomorrow." She objected, saying it was the truth. But the subconscious does not respond to outer facts. It responds to inner declarations. I taught her to affirm before sleep. The life of the spirit flows through me as vitality and strength. She practiced this without strain. Soon her mornings grew lighter. Her energy increased. Those around her commented on the change. She said, "It feels as though I have been restored from within." And I answered, "You have. Your word commanded the restoration." Let me explain plainly. The subconscious amplifies whatever you say at night. A whisper becomes a command. A murmured fear becomes a decree. A sentence of truth becomes a trumpet that summons your good. And even when you do not feel that your words hold power, the subconscious accepts them as power itself. Picture your spoken word as an arrow. During the day, the air is filled with winds. Doubt blowing from one direction, fear from another, distraction from yet another. Your arrow attempts to fly but is buffeted on all sides. But at night the air grows still, the winds quiet, the arrow flies straight. Your word reaches its target with perfect accuracy. This is why idle speech at night is more dangerous than idle speech during the day. Your subconscious, like a dutiful scribe, records everything in the final moments before sleep, especially the tone with which it is spoken. If you say, "I never succeed," it writes failure into the blueprint. If you say, "I prosper wherever I turn," it begins arranging scenes to match your decree. If you say, "No one understands me," the subconscious orchestrates misunderstandings. But if you say, "Divine love goes before me," harmony appears where disharmony once prevailed. A woman once lamented to me that her home life was full of tension. Each night she muttered, "I cannot stand this any longer." I said, "You are commanding more of what you cannot stand." I instructed her to say before sleep, "Divine love now restores harmony in this home." She hesitated, fearing the words were too bold. But boldness in truth is obedience to law. Within a week, the tension eased. Conversation softened. Her very presence seemed to calm others. She told me, "It feels as though my house exhaled," and I said, "It did. Your word lifted the heaviness." Others will notice when your nighttime word begins shaping your days. They may not know the reason, but they will sense that your speech carries a calm authority. They may remark that you are luckier, though luck is merely spiritual law obeyed. They may find themselves drawn to you, trusting your counsel, admiring your steadiness. They will respond not to what you say during the day, but to the unseen work of your night, the reordering of your subconscious through your word. Here are the powerful decrees that impress the subconscious most deeply during the night. My word is my wand. It creates my good as I sleep. Every decree returns to me multiplied in blessings. I speak abundance, and abundance answers. I rest in truth, and truth is established in my affairs. Let your voice become soft as you speak these lines. Do not strain. Do not try to believe. The subconscious does not require your conviction. It requires only your direction. And now that you understand the might of your spoken word at night, we step into one of the most miraculous chambers of spiritual law, the magic purse of the spirit, the unending supply that fills itself as you sleep. There is a treasury within you, invisible yet inexhaustible, ancient yet ever new, silent yet overflowing with response the moment it is acknowledged. I have often called it the magic purse of the spirit, for unlike the purses of the world, those frail leather compartments that grow thin, empty, or misplaced, this purse cannot diminish, cannot tear, cannot be stolen, and cannot run dry. It is the spiritual storehouse of supply, the divine reservoir from which all channels of provision draw their substance. And though many search frantically in the outer world for security, the wise seeker learns that the only true purse is within, and that it is filled and refilled according to the pictures, words, and faith one offers before sleep. The outer purse reflects the inner purse. When the inner purse is acknowledged, blessed, and spoken to with authority, the outer purse responds by replenishing itself through unexpected means. But when the inner purse is ignored or cursed with thoughts of lack, the outer purse seems to mirror that emptiness. The world is not the source, it is the shadow. The real wealth is already established in the unseen. The night is the hour when this magic purse opens most easily, waiting to be instructed by your word. A woman once came to me saying, "Mrs. Shinn, no matter how much I earn, my money slips through my fingers." I told her, "Your purse has no holes. Your thoughts do." She looked startled, for she had repeated for years the phrase, "I can never hold on to money." I said, "You have written that decree upon your subconscious, and your affairs are obedient to your word." I taught her to say each night before sleep. The magic purse of the Spirit is filled and refilled for me. What I spend returns multiplied. She obeyed faithfully. Within weeks, her income steadied. Bills that had burdened her were unexpectedly reduced. She received refunds, gifts, and offers of help she had not sought. She said, "I feel as though my purse has changed its mind." And I answered, "It changed when your word changed." Another man lived in constant fear of financial collapse. He hoarded every penny with trembling, believing that money was his only protection. But fear is a terrible treasurer. It locks the purse, but empties it at the same time. He said, "Mrs. Shinn, I fear poverty every night before bed." I replied, "Then poverty sits at your bedside, waiting for your invitation?" I instructed him to declare before sleep, "My supply comes from God, and God never fails." He began repeating it nightly, sometimes with doubt, sometimes with relief, but always with sincerity. Soon he felt a strange calm where panic once lived. Opportunities appeared without struggle. A promotion emerged unexpectedly. Clients sought his service rather than him chasing theirs. He said, "I feel as though I am supported." And I said, "You have always been supported. You have merely stopped resisting that support." Let me teach you a profound truth. The subconscious is the steward of your spiritual purse. It releases supply in accordance with the beliefs you impress upon it. If you tell it that supply is scarce, it restricts the flow. If you tell it that supply is endless, it opens the channels. If you tell it that you receive only through labor and strain, it arranges circumstances accordingly. But if you tell it that you receive under grace and in perfect ways, supply appears through avenues you could never have devised. During sleep, when the conscious mind no longer complains, fears, or compares, the subconscious begins gathering substance from the spiritual realm. It draws forth new channels, prepares new opportunities, recalls forgotten resources, and sends forth signals into the world that attract supply. People remember you. Doors open, delays dissolve. Money arrives through sources you cannot anticipate. The magic purse is at work. Let me give you an image to hold. Imagine your inner purse as a deep velvet pouch, lined with gold, glowing from within. Each night, as you speak words of prosperity, it fills, quietly, steadily, generously. You may not see the filling with your outer eyes, but the spiritual substance accumulates, and sooner or later, the substance condenses into visible form. A check, a raise, a gift, a forgiven debt, a new opportunity, a perfect idea, a long-awaited solution. A woman once practiced the magic purse affirmation with great devotion. She imagined herself opening a purse that never emptied. She pictured her coins multiplying, her notes reorganizing themselves into greater sums. She held the purse in her mind's eye as she drifted to sleep each night. Soon she began receiving small but steady blessings. A forgotten bank account surfaced. An overpayment was returned. A relative offered assistance without being asked. These small signs encouraged her, and she continued. Within a few months, she received a significant inheritance from an unexpected source. She said to me, "It feels as though someone behind the scenes arranged everything." And I said, "Indeed, your subconscious and the Christ within have been arranging it all along." Others will notice when the magic purse begins operating in your life. You will appear more composed, more generous, more at ease. People often trust those who radiate abundance, even before they understand the cause. They will treat you with greater respect, sensing a new stability within you. You may find that you attract opportunities without seeking them, that money comes with less effort, that you no longer panic when bills arrive, for you feel a quiet certainty that supply is already on its way. Let us consider the scriptures, which overflow with the theme of unfailing supply. The widow's oil did not run out. Every vessel she prepared was filled to the brim. The loaves and fishes multiplied in the hands of the Christ, feeding thousands with ease. The manna fell daily in the wilderness without man laboring for it. These are not stories of scarcity. They are pictures of the magic purse in operation, supply responding to faith, not to effort. Fear tightens the purse. Faith opens it. Now let me give you the key affirmations that awaken the magic purse most powerfully at night. The magic purse of the Spirit is filled and refilled for me now. My supply is endless, immediate, and secure. Every avenue of abundance opens while I sleep. I receive all that is mine by divine right, under grace. Say these not with desperation, but with quiet authority. The subconscious is not moved by emotion, it is moved by instruction. And now, having filled your inner purse, having placed your affairs in the custody of divine supply, there remains one final wonder of the night, the awakening into the quiet miracle, the transformation that others see long before you speak of it. There comes a morning, quiet, unannounced, without trumpet or fanfare, when you open your eyes and discover that something within you has shifted. You may not be able to name it. You may not know when it began. You may not even feel dramatically different. But there is a stillness where worry once lived, a warmth where fear once whispered, a confidence where strain once clung. You rise from your bed, and though your room appears unchanged, you are not the same. For the inner work done in silence, these 7 nights of surrender, decree, picture, and trust, has borne fruit. You have crossed a boundary invisible to the world, but unmistakable to the Spirit. You have awakened into the quiet miracle. The miracle begins subtly. It rarely announces itself with fireworks or grand gestures. It enters softly, like dawn spreading across the sky. First, a pale suggestion, then a warm glow, then full light. You find yourself moving through your morning without the familiar tightening in your chest. You speak with a gentler tone. You look upon your tasks without dread. Something within you knows all is well, and unlike before, you do not argue with that knowing. It sits upon your heart with the ease of truth, and others begin to notice. They may not say so at first, but they feel it. A coworker pauses and looks at you slightly differently, as though sensing a new steadiness. A family member asks, "Did you sleep well?" Not because you look rested, but because you look peaceful. A friend remarks that you seem lighter, though your circumstances may not have visibly changed. This is the unmistakable fragrance of spiritual realignment. You have become a person whose presence soothes rather than disturbs, whose speech carries authority rather than anxiety, whose energy calms rather than agitates. A woman once told me that after several nights of practicing these spiritual laws, she awoke feeling as though she were wrapped in quiet. She moved through her day as though carried by an unseen current. People were kinder. Conversations flowed smoothly. A situation at work that once caused distress resolved itself without her intervention. She said, "It felt as though the world softened around me." And I replied, "No, my dear, the world did not soften around you. You softened within, and the world merely reflected your new state." Another man, burdened for years by self-doubt, practiced the art of nighttime decree. He expected nothing dramatic. Yet, after several nights, he awoke with a strange sense of certainty. He walked differently. He spoke with measured confidence. His employer, who had overlooked him for years, suddenly remarked, "You seem changed, more self-assured." And soon the man was offered a responsibility he had secretly desired. He told me. I didn't try to be confident. I simply felt it. I answered, because the subconscious accepted a truth your conscious mind had refused for years. This quiet miracle is not the sudden appearance of wealth or opportunity, though those will surely come in their appointed time. The miracle is the transformation of you. It is the inward shift from fear to faith, from effort to allowance, from anxiety to expectancy. When you change, your world cannot help but change to match your new vibration. People treat you according to the impression you carry within. If you see yourself small, the world mirrors smallness. But when you awaken with the stature of spiritual authority, calm, expectant, aligned, the world rises to meet you. Let me give you an image. Imagine you have lived for years inside a room with dim light. You can see enough to move, but not enough to flourish. Then one morning, the shutters open just an inch, and light pours in, warm, gentle, illuminating. The room has not changed. The light has. And with that light, everything appears clearer, more orderly, more possible. This is the awakening of the inner consciousness. The shutters are your fears. The light is divine understanding flowing in the moment you cease resisting. Silence is the guardian of this miracle. This is why I tell you, tell no one. Do not speak of these 7 nights. Do not announce that you are changing your life. Do not describe your methods or your sensations. The seed grows best beneath the soil, hidden from curious hands. Many destroy their demonstrations by discussing them too soon. They plant the seed at night and uproot it in the morning by seeking approval or commentary from others who cannot see their vision. Let your spiritual work remain private. Let your transformation ripen in silence. When the fruit appears, you will not need to explain. It will speak for itself. A woman once verified this truth with striking clarity. She began practicing nightly decrees of abundance, but did not mention her inner work to anyone. She moved quietly through her days, guarding her words. Soon, her affairs began improving. Unexpected assistance, new opportunities, favorable outcomes. A friend asked her, "What changed?" She simply smiled, for she knew the seed had grown under the cover of discretion. Had she spoken prematurely, the friend's doubt or questions might have disrupted her faith. Silence protected her manifestation. Another man experienced a sudden increase in business after visualizing prosperity nightly. His instinct was to share his newfound method with those around him, but he sensed inwardly, "Not yet." He remained silent. Over time, his outer success became evident, and people came to him seeking counsel. Yet he never boasted of his method. He merely lived its truth. He told me later, "It grew because I guarded it," and he was right. The early stages of prosperity are delicate. Silence is the sunlight that strengthens them. Let me offer you a biblical picture. When Mary received the angelic message of greatness within her, she pondered these things in her heart. She did not share her revelation with the world. She carried it silently until the time of manifestation. The Israelites walked around Jericho in silence before the walls fell. No argument, no discussion, no chatter, only obedience. Christ often said, "Tell no man," after performing a miracle. Why? Because spiritual power must complete its work before it is exposed to the outer world, where doubt, envy, and misunderstanding may weaken it. When you awaken into the quiet miracle, you must walk gently with it. Nurture it. Protect it. Let your actions be guided by the inner shift rather than outer excitement. You will feel moments of inspiration, small nudges, quiet leadings, subtle impulses. These are signs that the subconscious and the Christ within are working together. Follow them without fanfare. A letter you feel compelled to write, a person you feel drawn to contact, a step you feel ready to take. Do these things simply, without explanation. Your intuition is the voice of your new consciousness. Here is what happens inwardly. Your nervous system relaxes into trust. Your breath deepens without trying. Your face softens. Your tone becomes sure. Your mind becomes spacious. Your eyes carry a new steadiness. People respond to this instantly, even if they cannot explain why. Some will treat you with greater respect. Others may seek your company more frequently. Opportunities will gravitate toward you, for the world recognizes inward authority long before outward demonstration. You may notice that you no longer react to situations that once disturbed you. A delay that would have caused anxiety now feels harmless. A conflict that would have shaken you now seems easily solvable. You find yourself saying inwardly, "It will work out," and for the first time, you believe yourself. This is the fruit of spiritual rest. This is the promised land, not a plot of earth, but a state of consciousness where you walk in continual assurance that nothing can be taken from you that belongs to you, and nothing can deny you what is yours by divine right. Here are the final affirmations that seal this new consciousness. My good unfolds quietly and perfectly. Divine order governs every hour of my life. What God has done for others, He now does for me and more. I walk in expectancy, for the unseen is working in my favor. Speak these softly as you wake or as you drift into sleep. They will guard your miracle and expand it. And now that you have completed the journey through stopping, receiving, picturing, decreeing, and allowing the magic purse to open, you stand in a new consciousness, one the world will recognize even before you do. Your 7 nights have rewritten the script of your days. The quiet miracle has begun. As you rest now, let the silence settle around you like a soft mantle, warm and familiar, a reminder that you have stepped into a new rhythm, not the frantic beat of old fears, but the steady pulse of divine order. You have walked faithfully through these nights of surrender and decree, and now you stand at the edge of a new consciousness, calm as dawn upon still waters. There is no need to reach forward nor look back. The moment itself holds all the power that ever was or ever will be. You have done your part. You have spoken your truth. And now, the unseen world moves quietly to meet you. All the good you have planted in the soil of your subconscious begins to bloom even now. You may not see the first petals yet, but beneath the surface, roots are stretching, light is gathering, and the Christ within is arranging every detail. You need not lift a finger to force it. You need not strain your mind to imagine how it shall come. Divine intelligence knows the way, and that way is already unfolding. Let your breath become gentle, like waves arriving upon the shore, each one smoothing the sands of your mind. Let every worry fall away like leaves released by the autumn wind. You no longer hold the burdens you once carried. You no longer repeat the sentences that once bound you. You no longer walk under the shadow of yesterday's decrees. You have stepped into a new vibration, a new expectancy, a new covenant with the unseen forces that govern your good. Say softly within yourself, without effort and without fear, I am safe now. I am provided for. I am guided perfectly. Let the words drift through your being like warm light. They do not need to be believed in the old sense. They need only to be spoken, for your subconscious has already agreed to them. The gate is open. The soil is ready. The blueprint is drawn. There is nothing in this moment that opposes you. There is nothing in the universe working against your good. All things are leaning toward you now. All things rush to meet the one who walks in expectancy rather than dread. You have placed yourself in the current of divine design, and that current carries you gently, surely, effortlessly toward the manifestations prepared for you since before you even asked. Others may not understand the change they see in you, but they will feel it. They will sense that something invisible encircles you. An ease, a quiet power, a grace that cannot be imitated or forced. They will treat you differently because you are different. You have touched the stillness where fear cannot live. You have opened the inner purse where supply cannot fail. You have met the Christ within, and the Christ has taken up your cause. Rest now in the certainty that nothing can be lost, nothing can be stolen, nothing can be delayed that belongs to your divine path. Say within yourself, with soft assurance, there is no loss in divine mind. Therefore, I cannot lose. Let the sentence linger. Let it become a pillow beneath your thoughts. All that is truly yours returns, purified, multiplied, perfected by the hands that hold the universe steady. Every person you are meant to meet is moving toward you. Every resource you are meant to receive is gathering itself quietly. Every opportunity that matches your new consciousness is preparing a place for you. And all you must do now is rest. The seed has been planted. The decree has been spoken. The picture has been formed. The purse has been opened. The Christ has taken command. Now let the divine timetable unfold. You do not dig up a seed each morning to check its progress. You water it with faith. You warm it with expectancy, and you trust the mystery of its growth. So it is with your manifestations. Say gently, what is mine now comes in perfect ways. There is no strain in these words, no pleading, no urgency. They float upon the air like a bird carried by unseen currents. The subconscious accepts them instantly, joyfully, as a child accepts a gift. And even now, the first vibrations of your answered desires are forming in the unseen, gathering shape and direction. You have stepped out of the old life. The door has closed behind you. Ahead lies a path touched by light you cannot yet see with your eyes, but your spirit knows it well. It feels familiar because it is your path, the one prepared for you when fear had no name and doubt had no voice. Rest in that knowledge. Rest in the truth that all things are working in your favor. Rest in the certainty that divine love has gone before you. Rest in the assurance that nothing good can be denied you. Let the breath soften again. Let the eyelids grow heavy. Let the body become light, as though held by unseen hands. You have nothing more to do tonight. Nothing more to fix. Nothing more to arrange. Nothing more to fear. Say softly, as though speaking to the deepest part of yourself, it is finished. It is done unto me. I rest in perfect peace. And as these words settle into your subconscious, like seeds resting in fertile earth, know that the universe has heard you. Know that the Christ within has taken charge. Know that the magic purse has opened. Know that your decree has gone forth. Know that your picture is forming. Know that your good is already on its way. And now, beloved seeker, rest. Let the night complete what your thoughts never could. Let sleep polish the edges of your new consciousness. Let the unseen hosts prepare the morning for your arrival. For you have entered the quiet miracle, and the quiet miracle is already becoming your life.